Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go.
And let's go. It's Ballsy Uncut. An hour later than normal. And there's a good reason for that. And I'll get into that in a second. I want to thank my sponsors. And first off, we're going to thank our friends at District Brewing and their Super Squeeze seltzer, fruited seltzer. It's passion fruit lime and mango lime and Saskatchewan liquor stores. Thanks to Terry and the gang getting on board. They were the first to get on board with the show. Helped me put that billboard up on Sass Drive as you head towards Mosaic Stadium, and you'll see it as you're headed in and around to watch Rider practice or also to the game on Saturday. Riders and the Edmonton Elks, the Sad Sack Edmonton Elks. And more on that in a second. Also want to thank my friends right there. I don't really wear hats. Like, I'll wear this hat, but let me take my headset off here. I don't really wear hats because I don't look good wearing hats. It looks like I'm checking crops all the time. Like, nothing against farmers, but I don't wear the hats really good. Oh, this one's not bad. Not too bad. I'll wear this for this segment. Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue. Tire and brake needs. They've got them covered for you for your car, for your car, for your trucks, for your trailers, and handling all your mechanical needs. And they got payment plans too, because it's not easy to keep vehicles on the road in a cheap way, or inexpensive way. So ask Michael Barth and the gang about that. Best customer service around too. I can speak to that. And even before I was a sponsor. So go check them out. Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina. All right. So let us get to, I'll tell you first why I'm doing this at 5 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock. So today is 5 o'clock, a shortened show, and I'll do a regular one on Friday, and then the Our Balls Are Bigger post-game show on Saturday after the Riders Elks game with former Rider and former Edmonton Eskimo. That would be Eddie Steele. He's going to join me on the post-game show to take your chats and such. But this is a shortened show today and no show on Wednesday because to help offset some of the costs of this show and also to just get me out of the house so I don't just sit in a one of the things, like, I don't miss the radio station. I miss some of the people I work with, and I miss going to a place to work. I think the thing I miss most is calling the football games, but I don't miss the actual dealing with the political bullshit of media. So I'm my own boss. I like that part of it. Okay. If I want to go at 5, I go at 5. And that's what I'm doing here because I have to work a part-time job to fund this and to get me out of the house instead of sitting in this studio, even though it's come together quite nicely. Getting a lot of good comments about it. But I decided I want to get out of the house and maybe do something productive. So talked to my friend Scott Waters, old Regina Rams teammate of mine, and I got a part-time job at Rancherlo helping troubled youth in our community, and they come from other parts of Canada too. It's a great program here. I got a lot of respect for the people that have been working there for a long time, like Josh Miller, the former running back, fullback / linebacker type with the Regina Thunder. He's the bearded chef. He is also at Rancherlo 19 years. So he was one of those running the course today that I'm in all week, a training course, a care training course to learn more about how to deal in the correct way and learn more how to structure yourself when you're in that environment. So, and they're good kids. They really are. These kids, can't name them, can't go into it too much, but they've gone through a lot. So it adds some perspective to my life. So I'm doing that. So this week, that's why things are a little off. That's all. That's why I'm telling you that. Not for pats on the back or anything, just to kind of point out that's what I'm doing on the side. So I appreciate your kindness and patience and continue to pay attention to this because we do have the best CFL talk anywhere, traditional media or online. Everybody else is chasing. They've been chasing me since I started doing this. Okay, let's be honest. I talk football, all football. I talk all sports actually, but I talk all sports, but I talk football the most. Okay, 3-down football. And with that in mind, we had the Ryan Nugent Hopkins jersey, which isn't hanging here. I'll be delivering it to Carm Carteri at supper on Wednesday. Former great color analyst with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, linebacker with the Riders and Hamilton, and just a great guy, local local football legend in Regina. Carm bought the jersey for $800. The money's going to Pete Pasco. Pete, of course, longtime broadcaster in Regina, still doing locker talk with Access and coaching football at Sheldon. He is, I'm going to take this off, getting hot under the lights. Not because I don't like Ward Tirecraft. Give me a second. Yeah, starting to sweat, with all that hair. Anyway, Pete's battling liver cancer. It's spread to his lungs. So I know they have a fundraiser coming up for him on the 29th, but I'm doing my own thing here. And so we raised money there. And now coming up here, you can start bidding if you want right now. I don't have it handy, but I will in the coming days. I've got an autographed Rider team football, CFL team football, official football that they use in the game, autographed by the team. Logan Furlan got a hold of me. He has stepped up with an autographed Logan Furlan jersey. So we'll have a Rider Logan Furlan team autographed jersey. We have, I purchased 2 tickets to the Labor Day Classic against the Bombers this year, September the 1st on my birthday. I purchased it. I was going to do a big giveaway, but I'd rather it go towards a great cause. So we're going to throw that in. And Murad Al-Khatib, president of the Regina Thunder, good friend of mine from AGT Foods, billionaire. He, world entrepreneur, gives back to the Thunder, the Regina Riot, and football in this community. Him and his wife, Michelle, she's a gem too. They're donating 4 AGT passes to the home opener. So you get to be like a bigwig up there. I don't even know what that's like. 4 AGT passes to the home opener next year, Riders and whoever, I don't know who it is, but maybe they're raising the banner when they win their 5th Grey Cup in team history. You can dare to dream, right? Anyway, that is going up for auction and we'll start it right now. And I'm going to start the bidding at $700. $700 bid. Actually, sorry, let's start it at $800. Carm bid $800 for a jersey. You're getting a jersey, a ball, 2 Labor Day Classic tickets, and 4 passes to the AGT Lounge for the home opener. My God, if you want to go to a Rider game, you want to go to the home opener, you want to go to the Labor Day Classic, and if they host a playoff game at home, that's what you want, or if they happen to have a home Grey Cup. Those are the games for sure you want to go to. So I've got 2 of the 3 right there in that package. So we're going to start the bidding at $800. You can email me, ballmichael173@gmail.com, or just direct message me at Ballsy Uncut on Facebook, Instagram. You could do that at X. You could do it on... that's mainly at Facebook, X, and Instagram. Okay. So just direct message me there and tell me you want to bid on the Rider package. And we're raising money for our buddy, Pete Pasco. Okay, let's get to it. After every week, we break down the week that was, get to some of the bests and busts, get to my power ranking. Now it's a 9-team league and it's not going to be wildly different than anybody else's. But this is just how I see it. Edmonton's at 9. They're in here next. You got to start Trey Ford if you're Edmonton. At number 8, Winnipeg. Just one of those years for the Bombers. They turned it over 5 times in Toronto, choked the game away, lost 16-14. So they, in overtime. So they are 8 in the power ranking. Calgary is 7. That was a pathetic effort in Ottawa. Maybe they were tired. I don't know. But excuses are for losers. Stampeders lose 33-6. And miss a chance to climb closer to the Riders in the standings. They're 7. I got Hamilton at 6. Bo Levi Mitchell looking great in the last 2 games. 2 wins in a row. They got old momentum on their side through the Hamilton Tiger Cats. At 5, I've got Toronto. Gritty defensive effort. That was a gritty win by them. They're staying afloat till Chad Kelly comes back because their quarterbacking is... Well, it's what I thought it would be. Cameron Dukes. Nick Arbuckle's been since he left Calgary. Toronto at 5. Ottawa at 4. I'm a believer now. They're unbeaten at home. They pound Calgary. Did it without a true running back because Rock Armstead got 2 objectional conducts and got disqualified in that game before halftime. And they absolutely demolished Calgary, as I said earlier. So they're 4. At 3, I got the Riders. They've got some things to clean up. They still take some undisciplined penalties. And they have the worst pass defense in the league, giving up 328 yards a game. They did it to a 3rd-string quarterback. And you can say, well, they didn't have film on them and everything like that. And I think they were starting to figure them out at the end. But no, come on. You got to tighten it up if you're going to play some of the better quarterbacks in this league. And so the Riders are 3, because having said all that, they still could have won that game. And they still could have beat BC in their first loss of the year. At 2, I've got those lines. They were on a bye. They've got the Bombers back-to-back. They can finish off Winnipeg. And if you're in Rider Nation, you're probably saying, here's hoping they do, because then it would really almost solidify your playoff spot. Not quite, but pretty good chance. And it's hard to say before, or not unbelievable to say is how I should say it, as we head not even to Labor Day. And Montreal, an impressive comeback at home with a third-string quarterback. They are number 1. And let's get to Ballsy's best of week number 8. Davis Alexander, former quarterback at Portland State, a Washington product. He comes off the bench. At one point, he was 12 for 12. Davis, and ran the ball well when he had to, too. Davis Alexander, Ballsy's best. Also, they're calling him Lord Pimpleton on the TSN broadcast. Khalil Pimpleton had a punt return for a touchdown, 7 catches for 80 yards. He'll share it with Drew Brown, who was 30 of 37, over 300 yards passing and a touchdown. Drew Brown getting it figured out with Tommy Condell's offense in Ottawa. Tavares McFadden. I'll tell you what, we've said this league is about second chances. You got a Pimpleton who might not play anywhere else, like not in the NFL, comes up to the CFL and now is excelling. Tavares McFadden, cut by the Argos in camp. They get injuries. He comes back. He gets a pick 6 for Toronto in that win over Winnipeg. Talk about redemption there. That's not only proven himself, but kind of sticking it to John Murphy and the gang for letting him go in the first place. Bo Levi Mitchell, over 300 yards passing for the 4th game this year, 5 touchdowns. And what's interesting, his first 5-touchdown passing performance in a game in his illustrious CFL career. And another Ballsy's best, Bryce Carter, 3 defensive tackles, 2 QB sacks for the Ottawa Redblacks, who are looking good in kind of that throwback black uniform with a little bit of red and the big nice white R on their helmets. So there's the best. And here are Ballsy's busts. I'm talking in third person, okay? Poor coaching decisions. Mason Moss for their terrible challenges in that first game of the week. O'Shea going for it on 3rd and short. Now, Winnipeg should have capitalized, but a field goal there puts you in a position to win. He elects to go for it. They get stoned, and then, well, I guess maybe, I don't know, was it a bad decision? Because Castillo totally muffed the field goal in overtime, and he is also a bust. Sergio Castillo, usually reliable, bombing him from 57 yards in back-to-back weeks, including in Regina, and he sucked in that Argos game. So there's some busts. Also, the Riders secondary, like I said, worst against the pass. The Bombers are a turnover machine, 5 turnovers. That's a bust for you. And this is a bust, too. The NFL for jerking around Nathan Rourke as he gets cut by the New York Giants. Guy started in Jacksonville, goes to New England, ends up with the Giants. Now he doesn't take any reps to start training camp, and he is released. But as the story would go, he is flying to Atlanta. As I got in touch with him, he's flying to Atlanta. There's a workout for Nathan Rourke in Atlanta. And because he cleared waivers today, he's free to sign anywhere. Now, Atlanta did put in a waiver claim for him before the Giants claimed him. They do have Kirk Cousins. They paid a boatload for him. They drafted Michael Penix out of Washington, the Washington Huskies. So they spent the high draft pick on him. But, I mean, he's probably not going to be a backup anyway right away. And Kirk Cousins, his health, coming off an Achilles, you never know how it's going to go. I think Nathan Rourke, we're going to hear from Nathan Rourke next. I'm going to replay the very first interview I did on Ballsy Uncut. He was my very first guest. He jumped at the opportunity to do it. It's a great conversation. I thought it's worth replaying again, so I will replay it here in a throwback here because it's timely. And I think you're going to figure out where he what he wants to do if he does come back to the CFL, okay? I think it's BC, and that's pretty well it. Although every team would have to be in on him, you'd have to think. He's better than any starting quarterback in the league right now. But as I predicted this, and I believe it to be true, because I think he's going to exhaust every opportunity to make the NFL this year because he wants to go back to BC, and he doesn't want to mess with what the Lions are doing right now. He was there a couple of weeks ago and talking about, his love for the Lions and the guys on the team still, and he's still buddies with VA. I don't think he'll want to overshadow VA. This isn't about money for him. So I think what he's going to do is he's going to try his best to catch on with the team. And I think we won't see him back in the CFL till the start of next season. And my prediction is Vernon Adams wins the Grey Cup, wins the MOP, and like Kerry Joseph in 2007, after he won it with the Riders, both of those awards was shipped to Toronto. I could see Vernon Adams Jr. being moved, and he could end up in, well, three places that need quarterbacks. That, you're getting a little long in the tooth at quarterback, although the way Bo Levi Mitchell's playing, it's kind of a resurgence for him. But I would have said Hamilton, maybe to a lesser extent, Saskatchewan with it's turning into be often injured Trevor Harris now, who's still a little bit away from coming back. So Vernon Adams, Winnipeg, or Vernon Adams, Saskatchewan. That's where I see him ending up. That's my prediction. But anyway, coming up here, we are going to hear from Nathan Rourke. My very first interview at the start of June. And you're going to notice, just like a young quarterback like Shea Patterson or Davis Alexander, I have matured as I've gotten more reps with this show. Didn't know what the hell I was doing to start in terms of lighting, in terms of microphone, in terms of all that stuff. So I look a little grainy. Nathan's going to look great. The show's evolved since then. And we're going to get to Nathan Rourke, my very first interview, but a lot of it is still applicable today. It's the last interview he's done in a while here with Canadian media. So he said he will come on again, but obviously he's busy going to Atlanta, getting ready for his workout with the Falcons, which I believe shakes down on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, Tuesday. So we'll be back with more in a moment.
I said, launching a show, I couldn't find a better guest than this, man. I've been a fan of this guy's for a long time. Nathan Rourke of the New York Giants in OTAs. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule, big man. How's it been going there?
It's been going well. Always good to talk to you, Ballsy. And it's been a little bit of a whirlwind the last couple of months, going from New England to New York. But I'm excited to see what is here for me in New York, and I've been enjoying the experience so far.
Yeah, so maybe just as much as you can take us inside it. I know you're just whetting your appetite with the OTAs, but how does one organization, Giants, from the Patriots, from the Jags, how do they differ? Or are they all basically kind of the same on a certain level?
Yeah, I think there's certainly some similarities. I think there's some things that each organization needs to have in terms of what they need to provide for a player, but there is some differences in terms of the people that are running them and the values that each organization holds dear, and that's certainly evident to me. I think that it speaks volumes to the leadership and people who are up front, what they value, and that's basically what we as players get to experience most of the time on a day-to-day levels, whether that's more emphasis on maybe some recovery modalities, more emphasis on, taking care of families, or maybe the food, whatever it is. You kind of see like a little bit more of an added emphasis to those things. But at the crux of it, it is just football. And the biggest thing for me is in the transition period has been just trying to process each playbook and trying to get a feel for the people that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and learning as much as I can about that to help me to succeed when I'm on the field.
Well, we know you're a smart guy. We know you're physically gifted, but what's it like to go from, a Doug Peterson playbook to Bill Belichick's offense, who's running that, and then, of course, now this one with Brian Daboll. What's it like with terminology and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the biggest challenge. At this point, I think it's safe to say I could describe myself as an NFL journeyman, been in a couple of different systems, but for me, it's been in the year and in a bit that I've been in the NFL. I've had 4 different playbooks that I've had to learn. This is my 4th, and there's been a good amount of overlap. The Doug Peterson offense has the same roots as the Alex Van Pelt offense that I was learning in New England in early April before I got to New York, and the Brian Daboll offense has its roots in a similar spot that the Bill O'Brien New England Patriot offense had. Obviously, Brian Dable having spent some time in New England, so there's a little bit of carryover. Obviously, each offense goes in its own specific direction based off of what their own experiences and the staff that they have and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times the roots are the same, and so being able to bank on that experience was certainly helpful. And I do think that was part of the reason that I was brought into New York, knowing that knowing that I had that experience and learning a little bit of that offense for a couple of weeks there at the end of the season, late in 2024.
Now, Nathan, you didn't expect to just come in and be a starter with the marquee and all the lights. Okay, I get that. But has this process gone kind of how you thought? Just take me through that side of things for you. That's the mental side of being an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly ups and downs, right? You're constantly looking for an opportunity. You're constantly hoping to get a chance to prove yourself. And I certainly feel like those opportunities have been scarce, but I do feel like when they have happened, when they have been given, I think I've taken advantage of them, and that's all you can really ask for. At the end of the day, I've been enjoying the experience, enjoying the challenge. I do feel like I can still play at this NFL level, and I'm eager to always get another opportunity to prove that.
How do you keep positive? Because let's be honest, you're a human being. You're not a robot. I've gone through some things myself, and I don't want to make this about myself, but I like to pick brains of guys here. This is Ballsy Uncut, so I kind of like to get raw. How do you keep yourself up? Because it can't be easier. In Jacksonville, you got some former CFL guys there. Maybe you can make it, but things don't fall your way even after a great preseason. Cup of coffee in New England and now here in New York. How do you keep the mental spirits up, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I look at looking back at my career, and I think about all the different places that I've been and how my journey has been far from a linear progression. It's been, ups and downs, and, junior college routes, and, a max school, and then going to the CFL rather than going to the NFL right away, and just an unconventional routes. And I think that the one constant has been the support of the people around me and the belief that I've had in myself and my own abilities. And ultimately, when people are not giving you the opportunities that you hope for, I think you have to cling to your support system and cling to the belief, your self-belief. And ultimately, that's what's going to bring you through, in my opinion.
Nathan, take your family out of it, your great significant other. Just focus on maybe the football side. Is there somebody, brain surgeon's going in for a big surgery, or he's going through some things, or a pilot? He'll probably call another pilot or another brain surgeon. He's not going to call a broken down radio announcer. Who are you talking to? Is there a best friend? Is there somebody who you pick their brain when you're going through things like this?
Yeah, I think that just at the end of the day, it comes down to great mentors, and one of those is my quarterback mechanics coach, Rob Williams. I continue to work with him multiple times a week, and have been since I left Vancouver. And he's just a constant in my life to be able to continue to show clips from during the week if I'm struggling with something in the mechanical space, but also just to kind of brings me back to a simpler time, if you will, when I was just in BC and we were working together to try to get better and try to, earn a spot on a pro roster. I think that my relationship with him has been extremely valuable to be able to, not, throw ideas off of him to, give me some advice and have, go back on his, wealth of experience, and been able to have that relationship has been great for, keeping me grounded and obviously, like you said, outside of, my family and my wife and all those great other people that I have around me. He's certainly a crucial part of that sports system.
I've talked to guys that have played in both leagues, and they say the CFL is maybe a little more quote unquote relaxed. Not that they're not professionals, not that you're not grinding. I get all that, but that it's more a business-like approach in the NFL. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've always said when people ask me that is that one of the things I really valued about the CFL was that I ran into a lot of guys who were not playing ball for the money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you can go and have a great career, whether you're Canadian or American, in the CFL, and be able to support your family, live a comfortable life. But you're not making, generational wealth type of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking millions and millions of dollars. I have come across guys in the NFL who are in it more for financial gain than they are for the love of the game. And someone who's, really had to come and prove, what kind of person he is, what kind of player they are. And I've never really been after it for the glory or for the fame or anything like that. I'm really a purist, and I really just appreciate and revere the game of football. And I found a lot more people or a lot more players share that perspective in the CFL in contrast to the NFL, and which is, I mean, it is what it is. I think it makes a lot of sense to people, and you talk about just the sheer numbers and just the amount of things that are going into the game and how it is a business. I have certainly seen the business side of things in more ways than one, in terms of how NFL programs are raised. But, I got really fortunate in BC to work in an organization where people were very transparent and they're very upfront and very honest. I think I think if you would go around the league, there would probably be some teams that maybe weren't as transparent, maybe not as upfront with the way that they did things, to no fault of their own. But I think I was really spoiled in that regard in the CFL. So it's hard to make that comparison. But in terms of just the players and how they view, the game and why they play, I think that there is some difference there.
Have you been frustrated at all during this process? Because we here in Canada know, I've been waving your flag, others have. We know you're a great player. You proved it in the preseason. Is there a level of frustration about, trying to crack that next layer? Because I really believe, and I know you know this, if you get a chance, you'll prove you can do it. It's just to get that chance.
Sure. I mean, I'm in a similar situation to many different players, right? Like we're all just on the cusp of trying to do something really special. And, at the end of the day, I think that, like you said, I do feel like I have, once that opportunity does come, that I will take advantage of it. But I think that the NFL is one of those things, and pro sports in general, actually, is that it's just about opportunity and being ready and being prepared for when that moment comes. And that's my responsibility as a pro, is to be ready and be prepared. And that's something that I aspire to do every single day and try to get to a better place to when that opportunity does come. And I do feel like that's going to come in New York at some point. I think that it's my responsibility to be a professional and be ready for myself, but also for my teammates as well.
So when you went to the NFL, you said your hope was obviously to make, that wasn't your first goal, but you can make generational money. You make it onto a roster and prove you can play in the quote unquote elite league. But you also said, I hope to become a better quarterback. So talking to Nathan Rourke now, from the guy that left the CFL back then, how are you a better quarterback in your opinion right now? Are you a better quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's been, measurable growth, from the time that I was in BC. I watch, highlights from the 22 season all the time and just reminisce about, the team that we had and the opportunities that might have been if I had the opportunity to stay healthy. And I look at myself as a much better thrower overall. I see a lot of things mechanically that we've in the off seasons really focused on, and time when you're not, gearing up to play during the week, you really have more time to throw and spend more time, on FaceTime calls with Rob and being able to kind of, refine some of those things. So I look at myself and I see a lot of improvement. I do think that, even with just a season under my belt, but also going to many different playbooks, I think I've, expanded my, my football knowledge in general, just from having to call certain things a different way. We have concepts that, I saw when I was in the CFL, but to be able to, in 4 different languages, or maybe 2 or 3 different languages, because there is some overlap, but to be able to call that same concept different things in different ways, see how each team describes a defense, how they would organize those things, to be able to have that wealth of knowledge of those things, I think has really improved. And I think that ultimately the goal, right, is to be able to get to a point where you really feel comfortable with what you're seeing out there. And I think just having different perspectives is really beneficial.
Well, Nathan, you're busy. It's OTA, so I'm going to let you go, but I have a couple more quick questions for you. So I'm selfish, okay? I'm selfish. I want to see Nathan Rourke play, whether it's the NFL or the CFL, okay? And I've said this online. I've said this on previous shows with Glenn Suter, with other guests. You can make more money, but nobody can make more time. You can't get back youth. So just like a quarterback will go to the line and say, you're expecting 52 to be Mike, but 46 Mike, 46 is Mike, and you're calling an audible. In your mind, do you have you want to play in the NFL, but you want to play? Is there a time, do you think, where you say, okay, this isn't working, I can go back to the CFL, and I know there are 9 teams that would want me? Like, how does your mindset work that way? Do you ever allow yourself to think that way, I guess is what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important to stress that while I did mention that there are players in the NFL that do definitely play for the money. That's not me.
Right.
I never played went to the NFL to do that. I hope to never make any type of career decisions based off of financial gain. Even if I was, when we were considering coming back to BC, I was never going to take a max contract. That was never going to be my thing. It's always about winning and making sure that we can be in a great position, great situation. And that being said, I think that to me, the most important thing is playing. And I think that once those options in the NFL it has been exhausted, maybe the opportunities haven't come in the way that we thought that they should. I think that the CFO will always be something that I know that I would continue to pursue and to want to be a part of. And certainly don't want to close that door at any time. But I'm going to make the most of this opportunity and see where it goes, and continue to trust that there's a plan out there, and that there'll be an organization that will be willing to put a chance on, or give me a chance. And so that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, you're pretty humble. You keep an eye on the CFL still, though. You keep an eye on your buddies in BC and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, always. I've been tracking with them. I'm rooting for BC. I mean, they've got a great opportunity this year when they're hosting the Grey Cup. I love what Mr. Doman's been doing in terms of all the stuff around the first game and all the publicity. They got a game in Victoria this year, and I've watched my guys in free agency go over across the league. I've got a teammate of mine who played at Ohio, who's now one of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and AJ Ouellette, and so I've been following him. And I appreciate the game. Like I said, I'm a true fan of the league, and I'm a fan of a lot of the guys that I played with and that I played against, and so I will always follow and keep tabs with it.
Never forget your first game in Saskatchewan. Riley can't go. You come in. And listen, I had watched you in college, but a lot of guys come up from college. They think the CFL is going to be a cakewalk. They come in. I'm not saying you did, but they come in and they're like, I'm going to walk all over this league. And then they learn pretty quick that these are true professional football players. But you came in, didn't start the way you wanted, and I just feel like you ran out of time on the clock. We're into week 1 of the CFL. What do you remember about that first game in Saskatchewan with the crowd in full throat and things not starting the way you want, but then rebounding? Just take me through that, because there'll be a lot of young kids that are in your shoes going into week 1 here.
Yeah, I think that the first thing was the just knowing that I was going to play, right? Like I didn't know until we went out there, and Mike was really a game time decision, and so it was so sudden and it was so quick that I didn't really have time to process it. The anxiety or the excitement really didn't kick in, and thankfully I'd gotten a majority of the reps that week. So I did feel like I was prepared, and but the crowd, the environment was something that I had never played in before. They were certainly rowdy, and it's just a cool environment to play in. And obviously, it didn't start the way we wanted to. Their defensive coordinator came out really, really aggressive and shut us down for the first bit. But I do remember at some point thinking, man, I've kind of made every mistake in the book at this point. I'm going to get better from here. So. Obviously we didn't get the win, but to be able to come back the following year and win twice in Mosaic was extremely gratifying because of that first loss. And I think I also did a lot of things there that I proved to myself that I could play in that league against a extremely good team and one of the toughest environments in the CFL. And I do look at that as a tremendous opportunity. I mean, how many other guys get the opportunity to play in their first game? I think that the CFL is one of those leagues that a lot of quarterbacks really do have to wait their turn. And I was very fortunate that I was able to go in and play right away and kind of show the organization that if something were to happen to Mike, that I could go in and get some production in there. And I think that certainly carried over into 22.
Okay, lastly, over my shoulder, there's a book it's over here somewhere. It's called Bush League, okay? A guy wrote it's Bush League, saying how that's what a lot of people say the CFL's Bush League. But then he breaks it down how it's not Bush League. You hear Ocho Cinco talk about it. You're right in the middle of it. Just talk about the difference between the quality, because I've always been, I like all football, okay, you know that. But I've been a supporter like you of the CFL. Is there really that much of a difference between the Canadian Football League in terms of talent and the NFL? We know they got all the bells and whistles and money, but I mean, we got an exciting game. I think the CFL is the most exciting brand of football. Like the Canadian game is the most exciting brand of football on the planet. I'll let you have the last say on that.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said about this. I do think that the talent level is not the talent margin isn't as wide as people think that it is. I do think that the American game is just quite different than the Canadian game. And I do think that there are some elements of the Canadian game that do make it more exciting. The emphasis of special teams, the two downs, the motion, the speed, the things that you can do in the passing game, the how you can offenses can spread defenses open. I think that, I'll use this example. My wife and her family are not a sports family at all. I didn't marry into a athletic family. So for them to watch football really for the first time, as my wife and I started getting more serious, they certainly gravitated towards that game easier than they did the NFL game. And just because of how quick it is, how the up tempo, and they've put an emphasis now on, cutting down the length of the games now. Things are a little bit more quicker. There's less stoppages. There's a lot of things I think they do really well that I think the NFL could certainly incorporate. But at the end of the day, I think that the NFL does have some really cool things too. I think that everything's a lot closer. So there's an emphasis on timing. There's an emphasis on precision in a quarterback position. There's more things that you have to be able to process from a pre-snap perspective based off of alignment, because there is less motion. The CFL as a quarterback, you're really just adjusting to how players end up on the snap because of all the motion. In the NFL, you can really kind of, you can take the pre-snap look, kind of see where people are aligned and kind of, make some audibles and checks and kind of stuff like there's kind of some just things that just don't exist in the NFL and the CFL. And I think there's some players that are just better suited for one game or the other. And the example that I will use is there's been a lot of successful defensive linemen in the CFL that are maybe a little bit too small for I do quotations for too small for the NFL, but the extra yard, the speed of the CFL all just goes really well for their skill set. It's really good for them. They're able to rush the passer, which is really good. They don't have to worry about the run as much. And they're able to have careers on that. There's tons of examples of those people. And I think that to be able to say like that person is more or less talented at football is just not a fair argument, because they're just tend to be, have more skills that just, correlate to a certain league or the other. And I would argue the same, that there's some NFL players, defensive linemen, who maybe are big and they're better at run stopping. They wouldn't be able to have as much success in the CFL because their skills are more oriented towards the NFL and vice versa. So I think that it's an intriguing argument, but the games are different enough that I don't think there's a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of talent. But I will say from my standpoint is that from a quarterback perspective, the speed is very similar. The game is very different. Yeah. The speed is similar. The game is very different. There's a lot of different nuances to it. I had to adjust. I had to transition back to the NFL game after playing in the CFL for 2 years. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of stuff that carries over. Football is football in a day. And I think that there are more athletes in the CFL, given the opportunity, could have a career in the NFL and be successful in it.
Okay, lastly, I like getting inside a guy's life a bit here. You just got married. What's your wife's name again? Sorry?
My wife's name is Emily.
Okay, so Emily, you're nicely married. Talk about the support system you need from having, a new wife, fairly new wife, and you're bouncing around from here to here to here, and what kind of toll that takes on a marriage, and she's got to be there right behind you.
Yeah, I mean, we started dating right before, or I think right after I started my first training camp as a professional athlete. So, knowing that she could, continue to be understanding of my time and understanding of how much that this career needs to study, to extra time to work on your craft, and how I was going to approach things. I think that support from her early on was really important, and she's continued to be just my rock from all the transitions, all the moves, and everything. We do have we've now just got a home base in BC now that will come back for the off season. So we have a little bit of stability in that regards, but whenever she's around, it's great to have. She helps me study with all the different offenses. She's been great for coming home and being able to kind of unload my day on her. And she's just been so understanding and supportive, and could not do it without her. So I think that my life would be a lot different as an athlete if I didn't have some kind of grounding, person to be able to, really truly and be able to vent and get all this stuff out from the day. And I can only imagine how difficult that would be as a single person. Yeah. And so I'm extremely appreciative and grateful for.
Saw you ripping the ball around with Cameron Dukes and my buddy Mason Nias from Regina, the old U of S Husky quarterback. I saw in the off season there you were throwing the pigskin around. That's pretty cool. Work out with some guys.
Yeah. It was cool to hang out with both of them. Rob's got a great crew there who's always come back on the off season. Yeah. This summer, Will Levis and I will be training together, which is nice. Which is awesome. And Cameron is someone who's I've got to know briefly over the summer, and obviously got to go Mason as well, and was rooting for Mason when he for potentially to play a pro career, but now he's doing some real cool things as a coach at the UBC, and so. Really cool. It's a great community out there in BC, and that Rob's kind of cultivated, and it's really cool to be a part of.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. You're a classy guy. You've always answered my calls, and I truly appreciate that. Best of luck, man. Wherever you end up, I'll be cheering for you.
Yeah, thank you. Always good.
Hey, that's Nathan Rourke. Very first guest I had on the show, June 7th. Show's come a long way, even the set. And now I know how to use a microphone. You think I'd know? 20-some years in this business. He's a great guy. I asked him to come on the show here. He sent me a text saying, I'm just not in a position to talk right now, Ballsy, but I will when I'm ready. He is going to Atlanta, though, for a workout on Wednesday with the Falcons. They put in a waiver wire application for him, but the Giants won it. They got first dibs on him. They've released him now. So he's now going to his fourth team and hoping to catch on with the Falcons. Falcons have Kirk Cousins, the former quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings, paying him a lot of money. He's coming off an Achilles injury. And they've got Michael Penix, who they picked, the left-handed quarterback they picked from Washington Huskies with eighth overall pick. It was a high draft pick in the NFL first round. So he is there. So he's going there and hopefully to catch on. But you heard right there, read between the lines. We don't have to read between the lines. He loves the Lions. He loves what Doman's doing. His wife, Emily's followed him everywhere. They've got a home base in Vancouver now. He's going to be a BC Lion when he comes back to the CFL. Yes, there are 9 teams, and you'd have to do your due diligence and make a bid for him or see what it would take to bring in there. Maybe Ottawa would. Looks like they got a good thing with Drew Brown. He looks like he might have something going on there. Calgary, you'd have to think Calgary'd be in, even though Jake Mayer's had some good games. He's had some bad games. Bo Levi Mitchell's long in the tooth, but he has had a revival. But you'd have to think Hamilton would look, the Riders would look, maybe Toronto would look, depending on what happens with Chad Kelly. Every team would have to look at the guy. But he's going to BC. He's going to be a BC Lion. And I think for that reason, he's not going to come back this year. The only way he'd come back this year is if Vernon Adams Jr. got hurt. This is my own opinion. If Vernon Adams Jr. got hurt and the Lions were in a position to win a Grey Cup on their home turf, which they will be, they'll be in the mix right till the end, then I could see him coming back there. He'd step right into Max Simick's offense and wouldn't miss a beat. That's the only way I see him coming back this year. Otherwise, he's going to try his best to catch on in the NFL, make some money on the practice roster, not upset the apple cart in BC. He loves the Lions. You heard it there. And he'll come back to BC next year if it doesn't work out in the NFL. I firmly believe, I predicted at the start of the year, he'll be the starting quarterback of the BC Lions next year. Vernon Adams Jr. will be traded after winning the Grey Cup and MOP, and he'll go somewhere. Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Hamilton, Toronto. It will, as other reporters have said, and it's true, there will be a seismic shift once Nathan Rourke comes back to the CFL. A seismic shift. And it'll be great for the league. I hope he catches in the NFL, just that he's running into politics. The same politics that Mason Nyes, the guy he referred to, that he was thrown with in the offseason. You heard him. I was cheering for Mason to get a chance in the CFL. Mason wasn't going to get a chance in the CFL. He was told one thing by the Riders and then another thing by the Riders, and he decided to go on his merry way to BC to be a quarterback's coach with UBC and coach high school, or teach high school football. Teach high school, coach UBC quarterbacks. He'd like to be an OC. He'd actually like to get down to D1 football and become a coach now, because don't think he didn't want to be a quarterback. He did, but he knows as a Canadian, you don't have a chance really to be a quarterback in the CFL unless you're Nathan Rourke. And I mean, Trey Ford's running around there. I mean, Edmonton's got nothing to lose. That's the other thing. If you're the Edmonton Elks right now, no disrespect to McLeod Bethel Thompson, and I don't think he's been the problem to this point. He wasn't great yesterday, but they've had a lot of other issues. McLeod's been in there a little bit in terms of the issues. Yesterday, he really was. But Trey Ford comes in. Now, I'm not one of these guys, oh, Trey Ford's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He was running around. He's a very athletic player. He's really exceptional athlete. He should have been in at the start of the second half, not till midway through the fourth quarter, because they had Hamilton on their heels. But Hamilton was also rushing three, playing prevent defense. Let's not get carried away here, okay? But at this point, if you're the Elks, you put the Canadian guy in that's an athlete that runs around and makes plays. That's what you do. You get him in there. He runs around. He makes plays. And it's exciting football. You get rid of McLeod Bethel Thompson. You dump that salary because you're not making the playoffs. The season's basically done now. You're 0-7. You're not beating the Riders out for a playoff spot. You're not beating the Lions out. And you're probably not catching the Stampeders. And you got to leapfrog Winnipeg. It's not happening. You're not making the playoffs. So see what you got in Trey Ford, because he's going to be a free agent. See if he is the future. Figure it out. You've got 11 games. Let them roll. Last time they won a game was back here in Saskatchewan last year. God knows I was at the mic for that performance. He was running around, making plays, little playground football. And that only goes so far, but he did throw the ball pretty good yesterday, even when he wasn't running around. So let Ford run with it. Dump McLeod Bethel Thompson before you have to pay his whole salary. I think it's like September 1st or whatever. It's the first part of September. I don't think they've changed that date. And that's what I'd do. So yeah, things about to get interesting. Hey, by the way, we get this exclusive to our show, and it's from Keith Willoughby, who I didn't have time to get on today because I was busy in a training session for Rancherlo. That's why the show started at 5 o'clock. For those that aren't in Regina, Rancherlo is a service. It's a organization to help troubled youth with their education and just like life experiences. And so I'm working as an education assistant, and I had to take some training. So today's show started at 5 live. You can get it later in podcast form. The next show, Ballsy Uncut, will be Friday. We're not having one on Wednesday. Friday, it'll be a regular show at 4. And then Saturday, the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show with myself and former Manitoba Bison, Saskatchewan Rough Rider, and Grey Cup winner with the Edmonton Eskimos, Eddie Steele, will join me. But Keith Willoughby, I usually have him on. Here's what he had to say, hot off the presses. West went 0 versus the East, as we know. That doesn't happen too often. The computer still loves the Riders, projects that both BC and Saskatchewan will be 12-6. So says Keith Willoughby, the dean at the Edwards School of Business, and our dean here on the show with the CFL simulations. So the computer says the Riders and the Lions will finish 12-6. BC is slightly favored to finish first, Saskatchewan second. Computer is making the Riders an 11-point favorite versus Edmonton on Saturday. So 11-point favorite for the Rough Riders over. I'm assuming it's going to be Trey Ford starting at quarterback for the Elks. It better be. It better be. Or that's a hill that everybody's going to die on there in Edmonton. By the way, Keith says, here's an interesting tidbit. The Rough Riders have the softest remaining strength of schedule. Their probability of making the playoffs, 99%. And Craig Reynolds and the board of directors for the Riders, after they lost $1.1 million last year, 96% chance of hosting a home playoff game, 28% chance of winning the Grey Cup for the Riders. And BC is the computer's favorite to win the Grey Cup at 35%. Okay, so I'm going to say something here. I wasn't going to, but I am going to, because that's why I've got a show like this. Paris Olympics. By the way, I think his name's Riley. I want to say Riley Weens. He's a diver from Pike Lake, synchronized diving, got a bronze medal for Saskatchewan. So kudos to them. Well, bronze medal for Canada, but Saskatchewan's first medal. I'm a Christian dude. I'm not a Bible thumper, but I go to church. I was an altar server. At one point, I thought about being a priest. That's the truth. But I decided I like women too much, and they don't let people marry. So anyway, I saw the opening of the Summer Olympic Games, and you can tell me it was a Greek painting they were mimicking. I heard one of the actors say it was the Last Supper, and what is it if it's not controversial? Having a little fun with it. They basically poke fun of the Last Supper. It has nothing to do with Christianity, the Olympics, so I don't know why they do that. But anyway, I made a post about how I'm offended, and the majority of the 2.4 billion Catholics or Christians, pardon me, would be offended. Not Catholics, Christians would be offended. And that's it. That's all I said. I said I didn't plan to watch much of it now anyway. Thanks. You just basically told Christians to screw off. That's what I said. Okay. The people that just hurl stuff at you when they don't even know who the hell you are and think they can just do it and run away. Well, I'm literally gonna call the dude out because he deserves to be called out. The public address announcer of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Daryl Brace. I've never had a conversation with this guy in my life. Not 1 minute. I've never said hi to the guy. He doesn't know me from a hole in the ground, except for maybe some stories he's heard. And he has the nerve to go on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, and he calls me a bigot. He calls me a bigot, and then he suspends his account. He shuts it down so he can just run and hide. And people call me a bully. Like this is what's wrong with the world. And he came on my feed, okay? Like, get out of here. Just get out of here. It's always the one side that's got to yell and got a name call, and you're a loser. I actually had a great conversation with a guy. I won't give you his full name, but his name's Cody. Probably because I can't remember. Cody comes on, and he was kind of John at me, and we went back and forth. Well, no, he was John at me, and I was a loser. And then by the end of it, we were like, you know what? We respect each other's opinion. I was wrong for jumping down your throat, Ballsy. I could see how you'd be upset. That I said, you know what, man? I have nothing. I'm not saying nothing about gays and lesbians or anything. Nothing bigoted about what I said. I said, as a Christian and a Catholic, I was offended by looking at what I thought was a disgraceful display of the Last Supper. That's my opinion on my feed, but you have no right to come on and call me a bigot and then refer to me as a bully. Get out of here. But that guy, we went back and forth. We ended up talking about sports. I said, good luck with your Riders. And as a Chargers fan, I can't cheer for your Raiders. And that's how it should be. You should be able to go back and forth, talk to people. They hear your side of things. You hear their side of things, but don't hurl things like bigot or you like Trump, so you have no character. You lack character. I thought you were a great sportscaster, but now I know you like Trump stuff over Biden, so you're done. Or you like Poilievre over Trudeau. What kind of goofball are you? You're a racist. You don't even know who I am. Like, crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the Saskatoon Giants. They won the U18 AAA Baseball Championship. The U18 AAA Baseball Championship held in Regina, and man, I got a story for you on Friday about that. It sounds like something Ballsy would do, but it almost ruined the tournament. The city of Regina's got to get their shit together. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I want to thank my sponsors. That would be our friends at District Brewing, their passion fruit lime, super squeeze fruited seltzer, and mango lime. It's in an orange can or this purple can. And then I've got Ward Tire Craft, 101 Dudney Avenue for all your braking tire needs. And they've got payment plans too. Go check them out. 101 Dudney Avenue. Tell Michael Barth, Ballsy brought you in. Maybe he can give you a bit of a deal. Maybe he can find you a hat or a shirt. Anyway, it's going to do it for my time. We will talk to you guys and girls, men and women, boys and girls on Friday.